Hello and welcome to the Real Life Insights. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jonathan. Remember, this is a segment where we get to dissect, break down issues of life, real topics, real issues, and I bring you the best. I bring you pundits, I bring you pros, I bring you specialists to help you do this. And seated right next to me,
I don't know whether I'm the pundit or what, whatever that means.
A legendary personality. He's a speaker, he's a motivational speaker, TV personality, and a life coach. I'm simply talking about Master Chimbala. Master, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. Great to be here. Great to be on this wonderful platform, and nice to converse with you on the platform.
Awesome. Sure. You had a question for me?
Yes, you were talking about identity.
Yes.
What's up? And so why would we be talking about personal identity in the first place?
Okay, so I thought this would be a good topic because I think knowing who you are is the foundation for, let's say, success, fulfillment, or any achievement that anyone wants to have in life. I believe that you should be introduced to yourself before you begin to make any moves in life. Before you begin to pursue anything, I think the first thing that you need to understand is, who am I? So you being the person who teaches these things and you're a life coach, I believe that you know how critical this topic is. So I thought it would be essential that you touch on it and just help us to identify who we are, and so that we can have a clear understanding of our personalities.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the good breakdown. I do a lot more damage than the opposite.
Okay.
In such conversations. Often because my viewpoint in how to deal with personal matters is not for anybody to claim that they have a better vision of truth and then convey it to the listener or the other person on the other side in a room of lessons, in a classroom, or in a mentorship class. There's a reason for that. I always think that we need to create more challenge in exploring questions and exploring answers. That is the perfect answer. So an answer could be 1 + 1 is equal to 2. A solution could do a bit more than just giving us an answer to that question. It looks at a larger perspective. And in my view, a perfect answer that many would give to understanding yourself or your identity, they'll talk about your roots, your language, your tribe, your name, your looks, all that. Others would dive in a different dimension and diversion and pick the spiritual matters in a biased religious manner.
Yes.
And talk about creation, God's intention, and God's purpose upon your life.
Yes.
And so many things. In many times when you're seeking and searching around the question of your identity, who am I, and so forth, you realize that, in fact, most of the things we insist define your identity or establish the concept of you are themselves based on factors around you and nothing about you.
Okay.
Yeah, so you are the perfect embodiment of what has been inculcated in you and therefore what you have become. That society has formed you. You are a success story. There is no failure in this. And I'll tell you why. If you've become a thief, you're a perfection of all the things put together to construct what? A thief.
A thief, yes.
And I'm not trying to change the concept of responsibility. That, it's not me, society just made me into a thief. I'm not talking about that. That's a different topic, a good one as well. But I always think that we miss many points in demanding that an understanding on identity of self is about those aspects. What if you were not born in this country, in this province, in this town, in this community? What if your parent didn't die early and so you didn't wind up on the streets? Or you didn't wind up being a criminal, a crook, or maybe people that captured you from a broken and messed up family, spent resources upon your life, and so you developed and became successful. What if these occurrences did not happen? Do things that happen to you have the power to create what defines you.
Yeah.
Or your definition and identity and concept of self are things that are naturally, coming from where you were born and from the time you were born and all these things. What I've just shared in the past 3 to 4 minutes are the exact formula of how I carry out my interaction on different thematic areas. I have not answered, I've just questioned.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why. Because in counseling, we ask questions. In mentorship, we provide guidance and inspiration so people walk along a certain path to certain levels of milestones, achievements, and benchmarks.
Yes, sir.
In coaching, we are delivering specific measurements that would heighten one's competence in being able to do things, especially on by themselves in the long term of their lives. And then in training, we're talking about drilling through a system or a process so that somebody captures a learning and things like that. In the past 20 to 23 years, I have been in all these spaces at the same time. Meaning
Brilliant.
each day I'm doing one of these.
Yes.
I'm doing a talk at a university. I'm doing a retreat for a company and organization. I'm doing a counseling session for somebody who's about to commit suicide for whatever reasons. And I'm doing mentorship for a group of women who are doing business. And so they're trying to also emulate certain traits of good business and things like that. Having learned through this different formulas of doing and reaching out to people and dealing with matters of life, you try to learn that they're not perfect answers that must be given. They're just, I'm messing you up, right? They're just good paths, journeys, formulas, roadmaps that people should be introduced to for them to experience personal growth.
Okay.
So identity, therefore, if I'm to describe ingredients and aspects of identity,
Yes.
identity is related to what you'd finally define yourself to be in all aspects of life and time and circumstance and self, whatever that would mean, depending on who is listening to this. Time means that identity can be static in the sense of certain things that I am that can't change. For example, sex in this, or what we usually call gender, male or female. Accepting, loving, respecting that sense of identity is critical and is permanent.
Awesome.
Yeah. But if I have a disagreement with that, or it's not an agreement of thinking I shouldn't have been male or I shouldn't have been female, but it is a contradiction, not a contradiction, an inability of being able to embrace this version of self called male or female. There are sections of our society where we have taught women and girls that they are irrelevant, they're not important. And most of our continent has had that degraded version of sense of worth for women. And we've done a terrible job as a society. Yes. Of course, the whole world has been a culprit for thousands of years. And it's much worse for us. I think we've been doing quite a better job now the past 20 years on the continent, maybe 30 now. But we still need to do more. But based on that, it would make a girl feel, wow, I wish I was a boy. I would climb a tree, I would play football and many things. These contradictions are not because somebody doesn't want to be female, but because society, once again, makes you feel that this version of identity is it's bad. I wish I was a boy, then I would climb a tree. That doesn't mean somebody says, God, you made me into a bad person. It just says, society, how dare you?
They've put me in that place where I shouldn't be comfortable.
And we do the same thing with the intersex society. Intersex society is a community of individuals that are born with a mixture of a biological structure inside that is both male and female. Sometimes 90% male, 10% female, the other way around 70-40, 20-30. But there is something about both aspects of sexes being embodied in one identity. Society will declare that you are invalid, you're worthless. We have seen families that have rejected children because of that. Now, being in that space myself and being an activist of the intersex community, I then have to also ask myself, therefore, what is identity? Is identity something you create, or something that others create for you, or something that should have been defined before you were even born? Is identity something you inherit by virtue of how you are born, where you are born, and all those things? Is identity a frame of details of 101 things that you're just gonna wear and say, the color of your skin, the height of your whatever, your nails, your looks, your beautiful big ears like mine, and all these things? Is there a set of things that should define identity? Do people get born to a world that has never had a version like them, and then whatever they want, they become, and that is their identity? Those are my questions, and that's what I would do best. Ask questions. Why? I think the best way to learn is asking a lot of questions. Whenever we come through to a place and dictate that you've got 5 things to teach people, 5 points, 5 steps, 5, wonderful. I love to think. I'm an abstract person who's very philosophical. I do a lot of ideology thing, and so even what seems to be a very simple and straightforward question, I think we benefit more by raising questions than giving answers, which often are wrong.
Who's going to answer those questions?
That's a good question. But what do you think yourself? Would this be unfair to raise questions instead of giving an answer to a question like, what is identity and all that?
It's actually good because it gives us a broader perspective of how we should, I think, define ourselves. Because now we have an assignment to go back home and say, am I going to define myself based on religion or based on where I come from, or what information I've gotten, what I've been, what I've gotten from the society. So I think questions are good as well. Today I'm going to allow you to ask those questions. I'll let it pass. But next time when I come, I'll need some answers.
Oh, let's hope so. Let's hope so. I'm just wondering as well, in addition, whether identity is something that can be fractured. Are there events in your life that could occur for identity to be modified, to be obliterated, to be changed in a way, to be increased, enhanced? Are there events in life that could change your identity in a way, that could modify your identity? Is identity something we create in our minds and could change, could improve, or disapprove? Can identity survive social interactions? Or are you going to say that identity survives on the basis of who is surrounding you? Is it good people, bad people? What if your perception of your own identity was negative and you had people that promoted that, and you didn't know that what they were promoting is a negativity about you? Like people that influence you to do bad things, they may also influence you to embody or embrace certain attributes that are not very good, very, very unhealthy, very immoral and righteous. Would you still say that this is a good community because they've helped me maintain the me I have always known and believed I am? So at what point do we say society didn't do me good because they pushed me to this, or they made me keep this because maybe society was also rotten? Like if you've got bad friends, they're doing drugs, and you're like, okay, this is the life. I'm just now in university or college, and we live here at whatever college, and so family doesn't know, parents don't know. And so you embody this new thing. And you put on my trousers, which are too halfway. Part of your situation is outside, that nonsense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think all these questions are important, and I think these questions are way more important than the answers.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I've learned over time in life that you need to deal with the questions. Often we want to listen to answers and we miss the point. The greatest way to grow is you yourself to glow around questions in order to grow answers in your mind. Hallelujah. That is important. I think it's a huge plus.
Yes.
And it will do us justice. Let me close with this on my side. There was a young man I found who seemed like he's coming from some community, my areas, and somewhere around here in Lusaka. And he was sagging, below the situation. And of course his boxer was visible. Yeah, boxer is not a very vulgar word. So boxer was visible. And like terribly. But it's normal guys my dressing.
That's the dress code.
So I just approached him. So the way you are dressed, you are quite naked. Our parents are passing here, they're watching you like this. And the boy became so guilty and ashamed and all that. So I explained to him that, look, many times opportunities will never land into your hands because who believe that you're a sensible chap? You look like you're a thug. You look like, tukuzipanga, shan. So one of the things that we should ask ourselves is how much of our identity is ours, really?
That's powerful.
Yeah. Or is our identity the version of identity that we have, we own, we know, we believe in, we accept, and we enjoy on the basis of public acceptance? Because if society tolerates it, then it is well. But will it change if you go to another place? If the community was different, if you had different friends? I was dealing with a young man who was part of a gang that was raping people. Young man, 17 years old. Yeah, so they were young, all of them, I think, that time. So they were raping people and all that. So the therapy for this young man was quite complicated because you see the depth and gravity of certain activities in life are not that easy to get you from. And also the basis that could have caused you to go there. Yeah. There are other experts in psychology who would become a bit agitated in contemplating on the concepts of identity in the manner I seem to have implied, especially on the examples, because I am talking more in the practical sense. And identity is rarely seen in a practical sense. It's seen as something sitting behind us. Identity.
It's in the mind. It's in the spirit. It's in the soul.
Yeah. But I see one trajectory, Jonathan, that the consequences of my actions that have taken me to prison for 12 years, 6 months, 3 weeks, and 7 days, 14 hours, and 5 minutes and 13 seconds, and tracking back to being in court and how I reacted and behaved in court, and tracking back to being taken to police cells and that case being registered, my shoes being taken off, my belt being removed, and all those issues, and for a few times receiving some few meals until family gave up on me, and going backwards to having lost all the friends when I was disenfranchised and whatever, and I was doing drugs and a lot of alcohol and messed up relationships, and that whole trajectory until, before my education had broken down, my job, my business, and all my connections just fell apart. And I had stopped going to church prior to then, and I had bad company much earlier, and that's about 7 years ago. And so you will go back. So I don't think that what we would call identity is just a thing on its own, or else it's irrelevant. We need to understand these things and what they are, where they come from, and what they cause us to do today, and what are the consequences of these actions, and what these actions and those consequences may have the impact on that so-said identity. So the activities alone may not make sense on their own. The questions and answers about identity do not make adequate sense on their own. We need to ask ourselves what this identity means in full-fledged.
Yes.
If a black girl or daughter who's 4 years and thinks that kakadolika black is a part of the conversations we have today universally, globally.
Yes.
Yeah, is ugly kataka mzungu, kakadolika mzungu, ngeka bwino. So what is wrong with that? And what is wrong can be tracked in terms of history, but also in terms of the consequences. What does it mean for her who is black? And it can be tracked further. So identity cannot just be a static aspect of life, like a fact, like A plus B is equal to AB. No, this is a deeper issue. It's deep. And it must be cultivated. It must be cultivated. And that's why the questions are more important than the answers. Because anybody who gives an answer is imposing their version of opinion, which is not bad, because many people who are wise can share. But I think the best wisdom is conversation, raising questions and sharing different perspectives, so that we mold these things, different angles, different perspectives.
Awesome.
Hallelujah.
Ladies and gentlemen, my mind has been blown up. My brains are scattered everywhere because of this man's wisdom. I seem not to understand what he says and how he comes up with all these But anyway, this is the real life insights. That's what we do. We simply bring you the best to give us information. I think we've gotten more questions which are going to give us an assignment to look for answers. This was the real life show with Master Chimbala. Stay safe. God bless you, and see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Hey, what's up? This is Gito. I just want to encourage you to watch the real life show with Jonathan. You know, he's a great guy. He knows his stuff, always has great guests, great knowledge. So just keep watching. Let's go.